The crowded observation deck aboard the orbiting station buzzed with excitement and tension as the countdown neared 0. Through massive windows, Earth's newest marvel, a warship unlike any other, rotated slowly beneath the platform, gleaming. Under the light of the nearby star, its sleek hull, polished to a mirror finish, stretched nearly half a kilometer long. This was the Leviathan, the pride of humanity's technological prowess, and the symbol of a future no one had dared imagine before. Captain Mira Collins stood quietly near the rail, her gaze fixed on the ship. She had commanded smaller vessels before, but none like this. The Leviathan was different. It was designed not just for defense, but to ensure humanity's place in a galaxy filled with countless species, many of which already possessed warships and weapons far beyond Earth's own early efforts. This ship represented a leap, a bold step toward a new era. 10, 9. The automated voice counted down, steady and calm. Across the observation deck, diplomats from various Earth nations exchanged hopeful looks. They had invested years and nearly every resource into the Leviathan's creation. The warship combined cutting-edge energy shields, experimental propulsion systems, and a weapons array capable of obliterating entire fleets with precision strikes. It was built to protect Earth, but also to command respect. 3, 2, 1, the voice concluded. A brilliant flash burst across the ship's command bridge as the Leviathan powered up its systems for the first official activation. Lights flickered along its hull as dormant energy cores roared to life. The station's alarms were quickly silenced, replaced by a wave of awe. "The Leviathan is fully operational," announced Commander Raj Patel, the ship's chief engineer. "All systems green, ready for initial trials." Mira felt a swell of pride. "Prepare for initial maneuver tests," she ordered. "Let's see what this giant can really do." The warship moved with surprising grace. Its engines emitted a soft hum, and it pivoted smoothly in orbit, demonstrating agility that contradicted its immense size. Below, on Earth and on countless observation stations throughout the solar system, live feeds showed the ship's every move, watched by millions. Despite the excitement, not all eyes were warm. Far beyond the solar system, ambassadors from the Galactic Council watched with unease. The council was made up of the most powerful and advanced species in the galaxy, tasked with maintaining peace and balance. They had long warned Earth against rushing into militarization without understanding galactic politics and power dynamics. The Leviathan, however, changed the equation entirely. Back on the observation deck, Mira received an incoming transmission. The screen flickered to life, revealing a stern face framed by a shimmering hologram. The Galactic Council's envoy. "Captain Collins," the envoy said with measured tone. "The Council acknowledges the completion of the Leviathan. We request a formal meeting to discuss the ship's capabilities and implications for galactic security." Mira nodded. "Understood. Earth is eager to maintain peace and cooperation with all species." The envoy's eyes sharpened. "We trust Earth's intentions, but the power your species now wields is unprecedented. We hope you will use it wisely." The transmission ended, leaving a lingering tension in the room. It was clear that the Leviathan would not be universally welcomed. Days later, the Leviathan embarked on its first mission, a patrol of the outer colonies near a disputed border with a notoriously aggressive alien faction, the Krell. Reports had indicated unusual activity, and Earth wanted to assert its presence. The Leviathan was not just a show of force, but a message. Humanity was ready to defend its interests. The Krell fleet responded with hostility, sending a dozen warships to confront the human vessel. Observers across the galaxy held their breath as the battle unfolded. In a stunning display of tactical superiority and overwhelming firepower, the Leviathan neutralized the entire fleet within minutes. Its energy cannons struck with pinpoint accuracy, while advanced shields absorbed enemy fire effortlessly. The Krell warships were decimated, their remnants retreating in confusion. On Earth, the victory sparked jubilation. Media hailed the Leviathan as humanity's shield and spear. Politicians declared a new era of security and strength. The galaxy, however, was less impressed. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives debated the consequences of allowing such a powerful weapon to roam freely. Would it spark an arms race? Upset fragile alliances? Threaten the peace they had worked so hard to maintain? While the debate raged, Captain Mira Collins prepared for her next orders. She understood the gravity of what humanity had unleashed, not just a warship, but a symbol of ambition, resilience, and a future that was now impossible to ignore. As the stars twinkled beyond the station's windows, the Leviathan awaited its next command, ready to defend, to explore, and to carve humanity's destiny among the stars. The morning sun cast a pale glow over the remote colony of New Aurora, a small outpost perched on the edge of known space. For years, it had been a quiet settlement, miners and scientists living side by side, mining rare minerals and studying alien flora. But recently, rumors spread of an approaching Krell fleet, notorious for their ruthless raids and aggressive claims on territory. Commander Aiden Cross stood on the colony's observation platform, his eyes scanning the distant stars. His comm unit crackled with updates, enemy vessels closing in faster than expected, communications from nearby patrols cut off. The colony's defenses were minimal, enough to withstand pirates, not a full-scale assault. "Sir," a young officer reported breathlessly, "Krell ships detected on final approach vector. Estimated time to engagement, 5 minutes." Aiden's jaw tightened. "This is it. Get the civilians to shelters. Activate all defensive systems." Back on Earth, the Leviathan was already en route. Captain Mira Collins and her crew had been monitoring the situation since the first warnings came in. The new warship had never been tested in a live combat situation before. Now, the moment had come. "Helm, bring us into New Aurora's system." "Full tactical readiness," Mira ordered. "This is more than a patrol. It's our chance to prove the Leviathan's worth." As the warship entered the system, its sensors lit up with enemy signatures. Over a dozen Krell warships orbited the colony, their weapons locked and ready. The Krell fleet had no idea what they were about to face. "Commander, they're confident, almost arrogant," said Lieutenant Chen, the tactical officer. "They don't recognize our power." Mira's lips curved into a small smile. "Let's remind them why they should." The first salvo came fast. Energy blasts streaked toward the colony's surface, explosions rippling through the thin atmosphere. Civilians scrambled to shelters, while automated defense turrets attempted to respond. From the Leviathan, massive energy cannons hummed to life. Mira's voice was calm, but commanding. "Return fire. Target their command vessels first." The Leviathan's weapons discharged with precision and devastating effect. A massive beam lanced through the closest Krell flagship, rupturing its hull and sending it spinning into space debris. Other warships scrambled, but the Leviathan was relentless. Its advanced targeting systems anticipated enemy movements before they happened. Seconds stretched into minutes as the battle intensified. The Krell unleashed wave after wave of attacks, but their weapons barely scratched the warship's reinforced shields. The Leviathan countered with unmatched speed and power, slicing through enemy ships like a blade through silk. On New Aurora, the colony's residents watched in awe as the distant lights of the battle shimmered across the sky. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The Leviathan was a guardian, a giant protecting them from certain destruction. But the warships. Victory was not just in firepower. Behind the scenes, Mira and her crew used every advantage. Electronic warfare disrupted enemy targeting, decoys and drones created confusion, and skilled pilots executed maneuvers that kept the Krell off balance. Enemy fleet breaking formation, Chen reported, eyes glued to the tactical display. "They're retreating!" Mira allowed herself a moment of relief, but remained vigilant. "Keep pursuit. Ensure they don't regroup." The Leviathan pressed forward, forcing the Krell into a disorganized withdrawal. By the time the last enemy ship fled, the battle was over. The aftermath was clear. The Leviathan had saved New Aurora from devastation. No other ship in the galaxy had demonstrated such overwhelming capability. The victory was broadcast live across Earth and allied worlds, igniting celebrations and renewed pride in humanity's progress. Yet, as cheers erupted, Mira couldn't shake a growing concern. "We've made our point," she told her executive, Officer Commander Lee. "But how will the rest of the galaxy respond?" Lee nodded thoughtfully. "Some will see us as protectors. Others will see a threat." The Leviathan's success sent ripples far beyond Earth. Alien ambassadors and Galactic council members began to question the consequences of such power concentrated in one ship. Was this a force for peace, or a spark that could ignite new conflicts? Back on Earth, government leaders debated the next steps. Some urged expansion of the fleet, believing the Leviathan should lead humanity's rise among the stars. Others cautioned restraint, warning that unchecked power could isolate humanity politically or provoke hostility. Mira remained focused on the ship and its crew. They had passed their first test with flying colors, but the future was uncertain. The galaxy was vast, and while many hoped for peace, others might see the Leviathan as a challenge to be destroyed. For now, though, the warship returned to Earth's orbit, carrying not only weapons and technology, but the hopes and fears of an entire species. Humanity's strongest warship had proven itself, but the true test, the battle for the galaxy's acceptance, was just beginning. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber was a vast, domed structure orbiting the neutral world of Viridian Prime. Representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations gathered in a circle so wide that no speaker could be seen from all sides. Each species brought its own customs, technologies, and philosophies, but all shared one goal: preserving peace and balance across the galaxy. Today, the chamber buzzed with an unusual intensity. The topic was humanity's Leviathan, a warship whose sheer power had shocked the galaxy. Ambassador Therrell, a lithe figure from the Xylan race, stood to address the assembly. His voice was calm but firm, echoing through the chamber. "The Earth faction has demonstrated unprecedented military power with the deployment of the Leviathan. Its victory at New Aurora signals a potential shift in galactic equilibrium. We must assess the implications carefully." Ambassador Jen, representing the aquatic Venari, added, "We have long maintained peace through mutual deterrence. The introduction of a weapon of this magnitude threatens to upset this balance and could lead to widespread conflict." The council members murmured in agreement or dissent, their languages weaving a complex tapestry of concern and debate. In a private chamber adjacent to the council floor, Earth's envoy, Ambassador Serena Blake, prepared to address the assembly. She was a seasoned diplomat, chosen not only for her skill, but for her deep understanding of human ambitions and fears. When the time came, Serena stepped onto the central platform, her voice steady and clear. "Honorable Council members, Earth respects the peace you have maintained for centuries. The Leviathan was developed not for aggression, but for protection, to ensure that humanity can defend itself in an often hostile universe." She paused, scanning the faces around her. "We do not seek dominance, but security. We understand your concerns and are open to dialogue. Let us find common ground to prevent misunderstanding." Her words were met with cautious silence. The council was a complex web of alliances and rivalries. Trust was hard-earned and easily broken. Later, as discussions continued behind closed doors, Captain Mira Collins watched the transmission from Earth's command center. The Council's unease was palpable. She understood their perspective. A single warship of unmatched power could unsettle the fragile peace. Still, she felt a quiet defiance. We built the Leviathan to protect our people. If that makes others uncomfortable, they must understand why. Across the galaxy, news of the Council's deliberations spread quickly. Many species began to reconsider their own defenses. Some ramped up their military production, fearful of falling behind. Others sought alliances to counterbalance Earth's newfound strength. Back on Viridian Prime, the Council reached a decision. A formal warning was issued to Earth. The Leviathan's deployment must be strictly limited. It was to be used only under Council oversight, and Earth was urged to engage in disarmament talks to avoid escalation. Ambassador Blake received the Council's directive with measured resolve. She conveyed the message to Earth's leaders, who met in emergency session. President Marcos, Earth's head of state, addressed his cabinet. The Council's demands are clear. We must weigh our options carefully. The Leviathan is a cornerstone of our defense, but isolation could harm us more. Military leaders argued for a strong stance, refusing to limit the warship's operations. Diplomats urged compromise to maintain alliances and trade relations. The debate was fierce. Meanwhile, in the halls of the Leviathan, Captain Mira prepared her crew for uncertain times. Our mission is unchanged. Protect humanity and uphold peace where we can. But we must be ready for challenges, both political and military. Her executive officer, Commander Lee, nodded. We've shown what the Leviathan can do. Now we face a new battle, one of diplomacy and strategy. As Earth navigated the Council's demands, cracks began to show in galactic relations. Some species openly criticized humanity's defiance, while others admired their resolve. Trade. Routes were scrutinized, alliances tested. Yet amid the tension, a surprising development emerged. A small group of species, impressed by Earth's technology and determination, reached out with offers of cooperation. They saw potential in joining forces rather than opposing. Captain Mira welcomed this cautiously. If we can build bridges, it may ease tensions, but we must never forget the risks. The Leviathan remained in orbit, its sensors scanning the depths of space. It was a reminder of power, responsibility, and the fine line humanity now walked. The Council's warning was clear. The era of unchecked expansion was over. Humanity had stepped onto a larger stage where every move was watched and weighed, and the galaxy was watching closely. The days that followed the Galactic Council's warning were tense and uncertain. Earth's leaders gathered in secure chambers, deep beneath the surface of the capital, debating the future of the Leviathan and humanity's place in the galaxy. Diplomatic channels buzzed with conflicting messages. Some alien governments issued veiled threats, warning that Earth's defiance might provoke a unified response. Others sent discreet offers of alliance, hoping to harness the Leviathan's power for their own ends. Meanwhile, humanity's neighbors grew uneasy. Colonies once welcoming of Earth's expansion now reconsidered their loyalties, caught between admiration and fear. On the Leviathan itself, Captain Mira Collins felt the weight of the galaxy pressing on her shoulders. The ship, a marvel of human engineering and determination, was now a symbol of both hope and threat. Commander Lee, Mira said during a strategy briefing, we need to prepare for any eventuality. The Council's warning was just the beginning. Lee nodded, eyes fixed on the tactical displays. Our sensors are picking up unusual activity near several of our outposts. Increased patrols by alien vessels, some conducting reconnaissance. It's clear they're watching us closely. Mira leaned forward. We need to send a message, but one that doesn't escalate tensions. A demonstration of strength, yes, but with respect. As plans formed, the galaxy began to shift. Several powerful species quietly formed a coalition aimed at balancing Earth's growing influence. The coalition members agreed to share intelligence and develop technologies designed to counter the Leviathan's unique capabilities. In diplomatic circles, whispers of a coming arms race spread like wildfire. Back on Earth, public opinion was divided. Many citizens hailed the Leviathan as proof of humanity's rightful place among the stars. They celebrated the ship as a guardian and protector. But others worried about isolation and the cost of provoking powerful neighbors. At a press conference, President Marcos addressed the world. The Leviathan represents our strength, but also our responsibility. We will not back down from defending our people, but we will seek peace wherever possible. In response, several colonies sent envoys to Earth, expressing concerns about their security and the potential fallout from the Leviathan's presence. They urged Earth to consider restraint. One such envoy, Ambassador Lyra of the Trisari, spoke candidly during a council meeting on Earth. "We understand your desire to protect your people, but unchecked power breeds fear. Fear leads to conflict. We urge you to reconsider your approach." Mira, watching the live broadcast from the Leviathan's bridge, felt the complexity of her mission deepen. Protecting humanity meant more than firepower. It meant navigating a galaxy wary of their rise. Then came the first major test of this new reality. Sensors aboard the Leviathan detected a fleet of unknown origin moving toward the outer colonies. The ships were unlike any recorded before. Sleek, fast, and heavily armed. The coalition against Earth had begun to take shape in the shadows. "Captain," Lee reported, "these vessels are probing our defenses. They're testing our response time." Mira made a decision. "Prepare for engagement, but hold fire unless fired upon. We need to show resolve without sparking open conflict." As the mysterious fleet closed in, communications channels buzzed with warnings and challenges from the coalition's leaders. They demanded Earth stand down and submit to new restrictions. The tension was electric. Then, unexpectedly, a message came through from the coalition's admiral, a calculated voice filled with icy resolve. "Leviathan, this is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Mira's jaw tightened. "Open a secure channel. Tell them we are prepared to defend our colonies but seek peaceful resolution. We will not be bullied, but we prefer dialogue over war." The response was a cold silence, followed by a renewed advance. The Leviathan powered up its systems, shields shimmering as energy flowed through every conduit. The crew moved with practiced precision, ready for the storm they knew was coming. In those moments before battle, Mira reflected on humanity's journey, from fragile settlers on a blue planet to a force commanding respect and fear across the stars. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: Earth would not be pushed aside. As the two fleets prepared to clash, the galaxy watched, holding its breath for what might become the defining moment of this new era. The Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than ever. Delegates from across the galaxy had gathered to confront the growing crisis that humanity's Leviathan had sparked. The air was thick with tension, and whispers of alliance and defiance filled the vast space. The Council had spent weeks debating Earth's role, the Leviathan's overwhelming power, and the potential consequences of continued escalation. Today, a decision would be reached, one that would redefine humanity's standing among the stars. Ambassador Tharrell of the Xylan opened the session, his voice heavy with gravity. "The power wielded by Earth's Leviathan threatens the fragile peace we have maintained for centuries. Despite our warnings, Earth has continued to deploy this weapon without adequate oversight." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. After careful consideration, the Council has voted to ban the Leviathan from entering any Council-regulated star systems. It shall be confined to Earth's immediate system, pending further disarmament negotiations. Murmurs erupted across the chamber. Some species applauded, relieved by the Council's firm stance. Others viewed the decision as a dangerous provocation, a restriction placed on humanity alone. Ambassador Blake stepped forward, her expression resolute. The ban is unjust. The Leviathan is a symbol of human survival, built to defend, not to threaten. We reject any limitation that compromises our security. Her words were met with a chorus of support and opposition. The Council's ruling was clear, but enforcement would prove difficult. Back on Earth, the announcement hit like a shockwave. News channels broadcast the ban, sparking a firestorm of debate and concern. President Marcos addressed the world from the Capitol's press hall. The Galactic Council's ban on the Leviathan challenges our sovereignty and our right to self-defense. We will comply with peaceful dialogue, but we will not abandon the security of our people. Military commanders met in secure facilities to assess the impact. The Leviathan, the most powerful ship humanity had ever built, was now restricted to orbit, its mission curtailed by politics. Captain Mira Collins watched the news from the Leviathan's bridge, her heart heavy, but her resolve unbroken. "We built this ship to protect humanity," she said quietly, "and that mission remains unchanged." Yet the ban was not merely symbolic. Trade embargoes followed, limiting Earth's access to crucial resources. Several allied colonies reconsidered their support, wary of provoking the Council. In secret, coalition members developed new strategies to contain humanity's influence. Research facilities raced to create countermeasures capable of neutralizing the Leviathan's advantages. Amid the rising pressure, whispers spread of plans to enforce the ban by force if necessary. Earth's leadership faced a grim reality. The galaxy's greatest power had declared humanity a threat. Still, hope flickered. A small but growing faction within the Council advocated for dialogue and understanding. They urged Earth and the Coalition to seek common ground rather than conflict. Ambassador Lyra of the Trisari reached out to Earth with a proposal for mediated talks. "We must find a path forward that respects all voices," she said. "War serves no one." On the Leviathan, preparations began for a different kind of mission, one of diplomacy and patience. Captain Mira and her crew trained not only for battle, but for the delicate art of negotiation. As the warship remained anchored in Earth's orbit, its presence was both a shield and a reminder. The ban had not diminished its power, but it had raised the stakes. Humanity's greatest creation was now a symbol of defiance and division. The galaxy's eyes remained fixed on the Leviathan, waiting to see whether it would spark a war or become a beacon for peace. In the quiet moments before the next chapter unfolded, Captain Mira looked out at the stars beyond. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and choices that would define humanity's future. One thing was certain. The Leviathan was not just a warship. It was a legacy forged in the fires of ambition, hope, and survival, and its story was far from over. Earth's capital was alive with activity as diplomats, military advisors, and intelligence officers moved through its sprawling corridors. The Galactic Council's ban on the Leviathan had sent ripples across the political landscape, an unmistakable signal that Earth was no longer just a rising power, but a potential threat. In the Grand Conference Hall, Ambassador Serena Blake prepared for one of the most important meetings in her career. Representatives from the Coalition, Earth's allies, and several neutral species had gathered to discuss the possibility of a negotiated truce, a way to avoid further escalation and rebuild trust. Mira Collins observed the preparations from the sidelines. The Leviathan remained anchored in orbit, its imposing silhouette a silent reminder of Earth's strength and the stakes involved. This meeting could change everything, Mira said quietly to Commander Lee. If we can find common ground, maybe the ban can be lifted. But if talks fail... Lee didn't finish the sentence. The threat of open conflict hung heavily in the air. As the session began, Ambassador Blake took the floor. Her tone was measured but passionate. We understand the Council's concerns. The Leviathan was designed to protect humanity, not to dominate or provoke. We propose strict transparency measures, regular inspections, shared control protocols, to ensure its use remains defensive. Several delegates exchanged skeptical glances. The coalition representatives were wary, their suspicions deep-rooted after the recent conflicts and shows of force. Ambassador Vral from the Chloran Coalition spoke next. Words are not enough. The Leviathan's capabilities exceed those of any known vessel. Until we see tangible limitations, we cannot accept Earth's assurances. The debate grew heated. Each side presented data, arguments, and counter-proposals. Human diplomats emphasized Earth's commitment to peace and the challenges faced from external threats. Coalition members pressed for disarmament and guarantees that the Leviathan would never again operate beyond Earth's system. In a quiet corner, an unexpected voice entered the conversation. Ambassador Lyra of the Tresari. We must remember, the future belongs to cooperation, not conflict. Earth's technological advancements are impressive. Instead of restrictions, why not shared development? A joint fleet, incorporating diverse species, with oversight from the Council itself? The room fell silent as many considered the possibility. Shared control could be a path forward, but trust would be essential. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, intelligence reports revealed that certain coalition factions were not only skeptical, but actively preparing for military action should diplomacy fail. Stealth fleets were mobilizing, and cyber operations targeted Earth's communication networks. Captain Mira was briefed in real time. This complicates things, she said grimly. The window for peace is narrow. We must be ready for either outcome. Back on Earth, President Marcos weighed the difficult decisions. Economic sanctions tightened, and several colonies reconsidered their allegiances, influenced by fears of being caught in a galactic crossfire. Despite the pressure, Earth's leadership chose to push forward with diplomacy. A special joint committee was established to oversee the Leviathan's operations, including representatives from Earth and select coalition members. Transparency measures were put in place, sensors open for inspection, flight plans shared in advance, and strict rules of engagement enacted. The Leviathan itself underwent modifications to incorporate these protocols, signaling a gesture of good faith. Yet, Captain Mira and her crew knew that appearances could deceive. Beneath the surface, tensions simmered. As negotiations stretched over weeks, the galaxy watched closely. Some species expressed hope that humanity could join the fold as a responsible partner. Others prepared for confrontation, unwilling to trust what they saw as a weapon too powerful to control. One evening, as the sun set behind Earth's blue horizon, Mira stood on the Leviathan's observation deck. The stars beyond seemed distant, beautiful, and yet filled with unknown dangers. Diplomacy is a battlefield all its own, she mused to Lee. We fight not with weapons, but with words and trust. And sometimes, that's the hardest fight of all. Lee nodded, eyes fixed on the endless night sky. Let's hope it's a fight we can win. In the shadows of the council chambers, covert operatives moved, and secret alliances formed. The coming weeks would test not only Earth's strength, but its ability to navigate the complex dance of diplomacy, where one misstep could ignite war or open the door to peace. The Leviathan waited, its engines silent for now, ready to defend or to lead a new chapter in humanity's story. The delicate balance of diplomacy was shattered long before anyone expected. Despite the ongoing negotiations and Earth's concessions, a shadow war was quietly unfolding beneath the polished veneer of peace talks. Captain Mira Collins stood on the Leviathan's bridge, eyes fixed on the flickering tactical displays. Intelligence had intercepted encrypted transmissions, indicating a covert operation targeting Earth's outer colonies. The fleet movement suggested a shadowy faction within the coalition was orchestrating sabotage and misinformation campaigns to destabilize Earth's alliances. "Commander Lee," Mira said grimly, "what's our current status on the interference?" Lee's fingers flew over the controls. Multiple colonies reporting communications blackouts and unexplained system failures. "We're tracing the cyber attacks to a coalition intelligence network. They're trying to isolate us before a larger strike." Mira's jaw tightened. "Prepare defensive protocols. Activate countermeasures and cyber defense grids. We can't afford to be blindsided." On Earth, the mood shifted from cautious optimism to guarded vigilance. Political leaders scrambled to secure vital infrastructure, while security forces increased patrols around vulnerable colonies. Ambassador Blake, still engaged in the Council's diplomatic sessions, received troubling news. "This isn't just sabotage," she told Earth's leadership. "It's a coordinated effort to provoke us into violating the ban." President Marcos gathered his advisors. "If they want a war, they'll get one. But we must be the ones to choose when and how it starts." Back on the Leviathan, Mira called a meeting with her senior officers. "Our mission remains clear. Protect humanity, defend our allies, and preserve peace if possible. But we must be ready for conflict. This is no longer just diplomacy, it's survival." The crew moved swiftly, bolstering cyber defenses and reinforcing communications. Pilots trained for rapid response while engineers worked to enhance shield capacities. Then, the first direct attack came. A stealth fleet emerged from a hidden jump point near the Outer Rim colonies, striking with precision. Several outposts were crippled before Earth's forces could respond. The attackers vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving confusion and fear in their wake. The Leviathan scrambled to defend the affected regions. Its massive weapons systems unleashed coordinated barrages against pursuing vessels, forcing the enemy to retreat. Yet the attackers had made their point. The war was no longer theoretical. In a special broadcast to the galaxy, President Marcos addressed both allies and adversaries. "We have sought peace and cooperation, but we will not tolerate aggression. Earth's defense forces will respond decisively to any threat to our people." The message was clear and resolute, but the galaxy remained divided. Some called for calm, others for immediate retaliation. Amid the turmoil, Ambassador Lyra of the Trisari continued to advocate for dialogue. "This cycle of attacks and reprisals must end," she urged at the council. "War benefits none. Let us return to the negotiating table with renewed commitment." Her words found sympathy among moderates, but faced opposition from hardliners on all sides. Meanwhile, a hidden hand worked to escalate tensions further. Unknown agents infiltrated Earth's communication networks, planting false evidence implicating Earth in an unprovoked attack on a neutral system. The revelation shattered fragile trust. Coalition fleets mobilized, preparing for a full-scale assault on Earth and the Leviathan. Captain Mira received the intelligence just as the Council announced a ceasefire proposal. The timing was suspicious and dangerous. "We're walking a knife's edge," Mira told her crew. "One wrong move could ignite a war that consumes us all." As Earth's leaders debated their response, the Leviathan remained a beacon of strength and hope. Its crew trained relentlessly, knowing that the next battle could decide the fate of humanity. In the quiet moments between alerts, Mira reflected on how far they had come. From the first test at New Aurora to this precarious standstill. "We built this ship to protect, but now we must protect it too," she said softly. "Because the future isn't just about power, it's about trust, sacrifice, and the will to survive together. Outside the Leviathan, stars shimmered indifferently, their light crossing vast distances. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonder and danger alike, and humanity was no longer a small part of it, but a force that others feared, envied, and challenged. The shadows of conflict loomed. The next chapter would be written not just with weapons, but with choices that could change everything. The galaxy held its breath. After months of shadow conflict, strained diplomacy, and rising tension, the moment of reckoning had arrived. The Leviathan hovered in Earth's orbit, a colossal symbol of humanity's power and resilience, yet also of the weight of their choices. Captain Mira Collins stood on the bridge, watching the distant fleets assembling beyond sensor range. The Coalition's armada was formidable. Vessels from multiple worlds, sleek and deadly, ready to enforce the ban by force if necessary. "We don't want war," Mira said softly, speaking into the quiet hum of the ship's systems. "But if it comes, we will stand our ground." Her voice was steady, but inside she wrestled with the burden of command. The Leviathan was more than a warship. It was humanity's hope, its shield, and potentially its last line of defense. On Earth, President Marcos addressed the population in a broadcast watched across the stars. "We have reached the limits of diplomacy. The Council's ban has not stopped covert attacks nor the buildup of hostile forces. We stand at a crossroads, but know this: Earth will defend itself, its people, and its ideals." Across the galaxy, reactions varied. Some lamented the escalation, others steeled themselves for what might come. Amid the diplomatic turmoil, Ambassador Lyra of the Trasari worked tirelessly, urging restraint and offering mediation. Her efforts bore fruit when a preliminary ceasefire was proposed, a fragile agreement that could open the door for lasting peace. But trust was scarce. As the opposing fleets closed the distance, unexpected events shifted the course of history. A coalition splinter faction, opposed to war but wary of Earth's power, covertly contacted Ambassador Blake. They revealed evidence that the sabotage and false attacks had been orchestrated by a radical group within their own ranks, seeking to provoke conflict for political gain. With this revelation, the Council's hardline stance began to soften. Earth's leaders seized the opportunity. Ambassador Blake presented the new evidence in a dramatic session before the Galactic Council, calling for renewed negotiations and mutual verification. Captain Mira coordinated with coalition officers aboard neutral ships, exchanging intelligence, and coordinating defensive postures. The Leviathan operated under strict oversight, symbolizing a new chapter of transparency. The ceasefire held. In the weeks that followed, joint teams of engineers, diplomats, and strategists worked to dismantle the remaining sources of sabotage and mistrust. The Leviathan was no longer a singular threat, but part of a cooperative defense effort, a model of combined strength. President Marcos addressed the galaxy once more. "This is the legacy we choose, to rise above fear and suspicion, to build bridges instead of walls. The Leviathan will remain a guardian of peace, not a harbinger of war." Captain Mira stood once more on the observation deck of the Leviathan, gazing at the stars that had witnessed so much. The ship's systems hummed quietly, no longer only a weapon but a beacon of unity. She reflected on the journey, how humanity's greatest creation had sparked fear, challenged old powers, and ultimately helped forge a new alliance. The Leviathan's true strength, Mira thought, lies not in its weapons, but in the courage to choose peace over conflict. As the galaxy moved toward a more hopeful future, Earth and its allies stood ready, not just to defend, but to lead. The story of the Leviathan was far from over. It was a legacy of power tempered by wisdom, a testament to humanity's resilience and the unyielding hope for harmony among the stars. And so, the warship that had once been banned became a symbol, a reminder that even the greatest power must serve the greatest good.